What's up everyone, this is Cher talking, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we'll be talking about Ultra Deluxe Macha Banner that brings a limited UDX Macha and Elysed and also Platinum's Arthur and Strumiknen. I will talk about all the styles in this full review. Starting with Macha, we have only this style, she's a newcomer. There is also an S style for inheritance. She has a focus on 3 different status. Agility 100%, it's super high. She can also be used in evasion strategies if you want. She has a 114% intelligence, just close to Barthélemy, pretty high as well with bonuses. Her will is also extremely high with 100% and 13 as a bonus. She doesn't have much endurance, but it's not as bad as some other mages. We have double arrows for intelligence, 1 arrow for agility, and she also has other arrows for will and charisma with her S style. Now, for passives, we have the first one called Macha's Benison. On the start of a turn. In every turn, she has a 25% chance to buff all surviving allies' intelligence. The value is only 15%. But it may help when doing damage against bosses, but it's unreliable sadly. The most important thing is that she will also recover all surviving allies by very small effect. That should be around 150. We have competition for this. We have Princess White Rose. She has a Christmas style that can heal everyone. But in her case, it's on the end of a turn. Macha case is on the start of a turn. But Princess White Rose has a 37% chance to heal, whereas we have only 25% with Macha. So less reliable, only once every 4 turns on average. I wish it had a different buff. Intelligence is offensive, but Macha helps more by being a defensive unit sometimes. So, well, they didn't change this, but the value is here. The second one is called Energize Intelligence and Will. On the start of a turn, she will buff her own intelligence and will by 15%. Every turn, so that means that she will have very high values for intelligence and will by herself. She does not even need to trigger the intelligence buff from Macha's Benison. Having high will means that she will not be inflicted with status augments or with debuffs with ease, and also will receive high damage from magical attacks. Means that you want to use her in boss fights that deal magical attacks, and she shines there because of something that I'll mention later. We have also Fired Up 6, that means that she increases damage by 30% at all times, has a buff to an offensive and defensive status, and can help the party heal and buff their intelligence. 4 spells, the first one is Rock Stings. For 3 VP we have a Sheep AoE spell that deals E power damage only, but doesn't matter because it's pretty cheap. Deals both Blunt and Pierce, and she is nice by having Pierce. She is a mage with both fire and earth elements. That means that's why she's doing Blunt here. And they changed it. We have now an effect that was not in her JP style. She can now stun with only 3 BP and an AoE attack. It's now the best stun attack in the game. Because she self-buffs for intelligence, she can just get all enemies stunned and just, well, save your party. I can tell you that in Wastelands and sometimes in Tower, you will only be able to stun some enemies and nothing else. This will be key to some strategies. She does have a little of a competition with 2 other characters. We have Elyse, another character can stun. Elyse debuffs enemies agility and will on start. He may not be as fast, but by debuffing agility he gets an upper hand. But his spell is 5 VP, meaning that he can use this 3 times in a row, but after that he would just not have enough, while she can just keep using and stun lock all enemies. Another comparison can be made by talking about Shira. And Shira has stun with all of her attacks, even has a fast attack with stun that costs 8 PP. It's not as good because it cannot be spammed, but can go first. If you have some other characters that buff intelligence, you can even go with her first, buff intelligence, and then just use either Macha or Elyse. If you already have Elyse and Shira, you can use them together. I use them together, they work it super fine. It does not mean that you don't need Macha. She works pretty well, but you may not need the 3 of them. Back to the other spells, we have Solar Ignition, a 6 BP spell that deals heat and sun damage. Well, this time she just changed it completely. C power, it was changed in global, in JP was only D. Now it's just on pair with Power Crypt. C power for 6 BP, it's pretty nice, but there's no other effect. Sun and Heat, and let me tell you again, she is a multi-elemental attacker. She has a special staff in her event, meaning that you don't need to farm anything. Solar Ignition can be used on turn 1 and 2, but she cannot use on turn 3. You have to inherit something from her S style that is Fireball Plus. With 3 BP, you have an AoE Heat attack. It's only Heat, so you lose this Sun part, but she becomes good for Heat AoE damage. Now we have the last attack called the Tower. This one we have to make pause. It's an amazing attack. For 10 BP, you have AoE, fast damage, blunt and pierce again. So you have it now a full cycle. B damage, that means that it was buffed in global. In JP it's only C. You have also an effect. This one debuffs intelligence by 30% of all enemies. Of course, it's called a chance, it's not guaranteed, but her intelligence is high and she buffs herself on the start of a turn. So, you will be using her in boss fights that do magical damage. She opens with a fast attack, meaning that she goes before your boss, buffs the intelligence, and then buffs her own will, meaning that she will barely take damage against magical attacks. And after that, you can even try to stun depending on the targets, but I don't think that stun will work so well in boss fights, more on tower and on challenges. But it also means that she has a full rotation of blunt and pierce, and we don't have many mages that can do pierce damage, and she will be able to be used on farming scenarios. You can use Rainbow Rangers or place her on the top and use her for pierce, and it's easy to find pierce on the exposition in STR, just a little harder to find on agility, but this allows more squad compositions when using Macha. The damage will be very nice, and because it's fast, you can combo with other fast attackers for farming. With that said, you can just do 2 different cycles with these spells, but there's also inheritance, like we just saw with Fireball Plus. There's also Flame Hammer. This is a 6 PP spell for Heat and Blunt. Well, a combination of what she offers, and this has a chance to debuff intelligence, but only by 15%. Let me tell you something, if you have a boss fight that has minions, you can open with the tower, and then your characters will probably kill the minions, and then you can just stick to use Flame Hammer instead of the tower. The damage from Flame Hammer is nothing special, but if you can just keep debuffing intelligence, then this may be good. Sometimes you want to debuff twice, or sometimes you want only one character to debuff because there is Defy weakness. Another good thing is that usually Defy weakness is triggered when you debuff more than 30%, like 35 and beyond. But the tower by itself will not trigger Defy weaknesses most of the time, so you can wait a little till you just start using your Flame Hammer if you want to inherit. Or if your boss don't have Defy weakness, you can just bring other intelligence buffers to do the job. She will be compared to 2 different characters that we got that have intelligence buff as their main role. Like Zosma can debuff intelligence with Mirage Step for only 4 BP. And he buffs his STR and intelligence every time that he hits a target, meaning that he just increases his damage and the chance to keep debuffing. Another character that has something similar is the last version of Monica that can do the same. She has a 3 BP skill that debuffs intelligence, and she even has another one that has higher damage, and every time that she hits, she buffs dexterity and intelligence, increasing accuracy and debuff chance. If you have these 2 characters, I have to say that at least for this part of Macha, you don't need 3 characters. You don't need this Fang. You are summoning her more because of the stun part than because of the intelligence debuff. But if the boss doesn't have any Defy weakness, you can just go and use her alongside another intelligence debuffer and you will do good. For the last inheritance, we have in Crimson Flare Plus, and this is the last interesting attack because it's 11 BP. She cannot use this on turn 1, but it's Heat and Sun in her only single target nuke. Triple S damage 62 may help in farming if you have like 2 waves and your characters finish the first wave by themselves and she deals damage against the boss. This will help get her status and high values at all times. Well, Macha offers a lot of things. She has a perfect cycle for blunt and pierce damage, another perfect cycle for heat, I'm talking about AoE. She may not be the best one for a single target, but she's not exactly made for that. She will help you get some special effects in some fights, Sadly, when you bring Peon of Peace to increase the heal value, you don't bring Peon of Victory that increases intelligence, but because she buffs her intelligence herself, this may just work well. But 25% chance to heal is not that high, especially if you have other characters like Hollow increases my White Rose, or the latest Mariah. Mariah, heal is meta and just change it, some setups. She's more important than Macha, but Macha brings a lot of things. Heal, debuff, and stun. Like I said, she's the best stun inflictor. There's only competition for single target stun. She can also stun a single target if she wants. But if you have Yundin, Yundin has Bubble Pop from her stun style, and she can stun with higher chance. We have high chance here, it's much better than small chance, and she can just keep using. Another character that has access to this is the last version of Miss Surfing. She can inherit from a freestyle. This freestyle has Bubble Pop, and then you inherit this into her last one, and she buffs intelligence at all times as well, and that means that she would just keep stunning enemies, but only one. So the best chance to stun and keep the stun going for long fights is now with Macha. She's now the best character for this. Macha will receive a high WS grade. She's a very nice character. Sadly, she's not meta, she's not required for anything, but she may help deal with some very specific scenarios like fighting against mages with high damage output with some extra effects. Also, she works for farming with tower because she has fast attack, and that is very nice to have pierce damage as a mage. Macha gets a future style, and this one is amazing. I have to tell you, there is one thing that will work super well in global. She comes with a 0 BP spell that deals heat and blunt. That's already good. She gets a heal spell that cleanses, has not such a high heal, but it's nice because it just cleanses as well. And a spell that's amazing. This one, it's a double hit spell that recovers HP of all surviving allies without spending LP. She has higher love, as you can see, so she will be healing people for around 160 or something. And if you bring Peon of Victory from Matriarch, you get an increase to love and charisma, and she will just heal much more. You can heal around 500 a turn even when you use this spell. And when she also recovers with that spell Earth Heal, she gets some buffs to herself. Well, I guess they will even change this for global, but so far it's a nice strategy. I just think that they probably will rerun her before we see her next style. But if you're thinking about long term, Macha does have a future. And the next character is Elyse. We have two different versions of her. This one you can also get from the event. She is a water and wind mage. As you can see from here, she will also get a dedicated weapon to herself. She has very similar things to Macha, like focusing on the same attributes, agility with 95, pretty nice as well. She can be used in an evasion strategy if you want, as a your damage dealer. Besides your buffers, 110% intelligence, not as high as Macha, but pretty close. Will is 100%, pretty high as well, so she will be used for bosses that do magical attacks more often than against physical, since her endurance is not that high. Well, she's all about the damage. We have passives that are all focused on increasing her damage output. The first one is Warcry. We saw this before with the limited version of Khalid. She increases all surviving allies slash damage by 5% and all surviving allies lightning damage by another 5%. Most of her attacks are both slash and lightning, so this gives her 10% increase most of the time. We have Focus on Energy too, giving her a 20% increase in damage when attacking weak targets, and also plus 2 BP on start of battle. This is pretty important. There is also Fired Up 6 that increases her damage output by 30%. What she has is 30% at all times, 40% at most times, and also 60% when attacking weak targets and using a spell that's both slash and lightning, and also start with 12. That's pretty nice for a character. Well, for spells we have Lightning Plus. This is an Amplify over an Node spell that was just lightning, that used it to cost 3 BP, now it's free. That means that she does not need to use normal attack. This spell is busted. It's E power, okay, lightning, and it has a medium chance to paralyze. That's very nice, medium chance without any cost. You can just use this whatever you want and also save BP when you're trying to paralyze. Then the second one is called Gale Thunder. This one is the sign of power creep. For only 6 BP, this was changed in global is 6, but in GP is 7. She can hit between 2 to 4 times with slash and lightning damage. So double element hits between 2 to 4, does not cost much, and there's more. She also has a chance to paralyze with each hit. Yes, each hit. We have to compare the damage part of this to characters that we saw in the past, like Minerva has a multi-hit attack. She also has a self-buff. This is something that Elyse doesn't have, so that's why she gets very good damage after some turns. Multi-Trust is just the same thing, but only 1 damage type, 7 BP, and there's no added effect. Another character that's pretty similar is also Ferdinand. Ferdinand has an attack called Starry Rush, that's 7 BP, hits 2 to 4, he gets double elements, but there's nothing else. So I say that this is a sign of power creep because that paralyzed chance is super nice. Let's say that you are on a boss fight and the boss has some resistance to lightning and you use Gale Thunder. You will need someone else to buff her intelligence since she cannot do it by herself, but you can bring Peon of Victory or Water Festival just fine, and by buffing you get higher chances to inflict paralyze. I know it's a low chance, but by hitting multiple times you can just get this done, and after using Gale Thunder you return to lightning if you don't have BP and then just go back to Gale Thunder. It's a perfect cycle since it's 0 and 6. Very easy to set up. In boss fights, if there is a way to paralyze, she'll be the best paralyze inflictor and also doing damage while paralyzing. The third attack is called Lightning Storm. This one is a 10 BP spell. Again, slash and lightning. Those 2 attacks get the max value, can reach as much as 60% increase in damage. That's the same as Mystic Essence. And it just has a medium chance to paralyze. It's triple S power, meaning that has nuke potential. I have to tell you that Gale Thunder is better if you are on a boss fight than rely on Lightning Storm, but for farming bosses you can just go with Lightning Storm since it's more reliable. Gale Thunder, if it hits 2 times, we are talking about close to S power. 3 times we have like double S power, and 4 times we have triple S power for only 6 BP cost. That's insane and offers even more value because it can be used 3 times in a row because of, you know, starting with 12. So you can just use this on raids for a chance of a lot of damage depending on the RNG, or you can use this for just damage as well. In boss fight, she's a good damage dealer. So another thing, as you see, all of her attacks has a chance to paralyze. She's now a paralyze specialist. We do have characters that have high chance to paralyze single targets, like we have Arluge. Arluge can do that, and he's a character that can just get his intelligence buffed every turn. You get it by inheritance. Shadow Chains from his S style has high chance, and it's only 2 BP, he can keep casting. He's better on doing this because he debuffs will and agility on start, and keeps buffing his intelligence. So for just 1 target, he still beats Elyse. But Elyse just keeps doing damage. You can even use them together if you want, and even bring a stone that decreases paralyze resistance, and that will work just fine. But Elyse also has inheritance options. Let's talk about her inheritance options. The first one is called Woodstock. For 4 BP, she deals beat damage 21 modifier with critical against plants. For 4 BP, I don't think this is useful. You can just keep using Gale Thunder. Forget about this attack. Only if the enemy is weak to, well, plant attacks. Then the second one is Cyclone Plus. For 8 BP, we get B Power 22 modifier. This is essentially Mirage Blade Plus, but a spell. We miss 1 BP to be able to use this twice in a row. This is amazing if you can. In the future, we'll get other styles that has AoE damage and plus 1 BP to the party, and this will allow her to do it. She even beats Christmas Rupina Mirage Blade twice because of the power. Then the last inheritance is Right-Tail's Thunder. Right-Tail's Thunder is a little too costly. Yeah, it's an old spell. For 11 BP, meaning that she can use this on turn 1, you get B power 21 modifier, only lightning damage, and has a low chance to inflict paralyze. I can only see this being useful for farming if you have multiple enemies in one wave, or for some boss fights where there are many minions and they can be paralyzed, but this will hardly be a thing. I think that for constant damage and nuking while paralyzing, she's now a queen. The best character for doing this. If you want just a chance to paralyze, you have other options. Even Rock Bouquet has access to that attack that I said. Shadow Chains, that means that she may not have just the highest chance, but by attacking multiple times, dealing damage and paralyzing, since paralyze lasts for 4 turns, this is good enough. I must say that she is the best paralyze inflictor, even with all things considered, because of having paralyzing all attacks. Elysed will also receive a high SS grade. She's not a meta character, she's not required to clear content, but she does offer a lot for people that don't have a paralyzing inflictor or a specialist, and just can be super strong in raids. Gale Thunder 3 times in a row is the sign of power creep, and will help reach very high damage without much problem. And by being a lightning damage dealer, who barely have lightning damage dealer, she won't be outclassed easily on that, but will on the slash part. You can find many slash damage dealers to compete, but not just for lightning. If you didn't get that Madeline from the last anniversary, this will compete a little, but you can use them together depending on the formation that you are using. If you didn't get that, you have a higher value for having now a character that can do lightning nuke. But we just talked about 2 limited styles in a banner that has, well, only 20% chance of getting at least one of them. You have a chance of getting a platinum or even an off banner, so think well about deciding if you want Elyse or not. She's not a needed, but it's a very powerful character. The next character is Arthur Darlton. This character here is very strange. He's full support, relies too much on RNG. I don't know if you can use him well in hard challenges at all, but for new players maybe he can help with something here. Our first starts, you cannot compare his status to premium styles. We only have 80% agility, 94 intelligence with bonuses for those 2 status. His endurance and will are not that bad, and this helps him survive. He is a little of a tanky mage. For passives, we have the first one called Silent Hunter. He gets himself on the start of a turn a stealth chance that lasts for 4 turns, but he can reapply this, meaning that he barely gets attacked by single target attacks. He will also heal himself every turn by around 150 HP to help him survive even more. The second passive is called Closed Quarters on the start of a turn, and every turn he has a 37% chance to buff 2 things to the party. The first one is an increase to attack damage by 10%. It only lasts for 1 turn, the turn that it activated. The second effect is a defense boost that decreases damage to the party by 15%. So, 2 things, offensive and defensive, but only 37% to trigger. You will never know if it will trigger when you need. So that's a huge problem. The last one we have is our Wall Link, and on the start of a turn, and every turn, he will give always, this time is always, himself a defense boost that decreases damage by 25%. Well, Mariah and some other characters now have passives that decrease damage by 40%, but he is more about helping the party. He will also give this to another random surviving ally. It can even be himself. If it triggers to himself, he will decrease damage by 25 and then 25 again. But it can be someone else. But you don't have any control over this. You don't know who he's gonna buff, and this is unreliable. So even though some things looks okay on paper, on execution is pretty poor. For spells, we have 3 more plus. That's actually not bad. Sea Power, again, for 6 BP and blunt damage. It has a chance to stun. His intelligence is not that bad, but it does not hit flowing enemies. With the second spell is called Armor Blasting. For 5 BP, he gives Guard Up Large. That is 35% decrease in damage. Guard Up does not stack, so if you have other characters applying, it will not work. But since this one is fast, he can help a tank survive better. We also have Hypergravity Plus. This is an amplify over the old Hypergravity that used to be 12 BP, now it's 10 BP only, and it deals blunt damage triple S, that's pretty good already. But it also has a special effect, they buffs agility by 30%. But it's only a chance, so you have to rely on his 94 intelligence, and if you have someone to buff intelligence to help get a little more than that, it's good. And if you are using him on a boss fight, you are either using for armor blasting or for hypergravity. You can use on turn 1 and then wait till he gets 10 BP again and use hypergravity again to debuff agility. If the enemy does not have the 5 weaknesses, it works super fine since he offers some other stuff as well, but a very unreliable character. I must say that Arthur Darlton is not needed for anything in the game, but if you are a new player and you are feeling like you just missed a win because just a little help, and you also think that the buffing agility is needed, this guy could help you. Sadly, he's not exactly a specialist. He will be receiving a low S grade in our tier list, or even lower, we'll think about this later. The last character is what is his name again? Strumiknen. Yeah, this guy here is exactly a very powerful damage dealer, especially for Platinum. I am very impressed by his damage potential. We have 100% STR with double arrows and 16 as a bonus. His dexterity is also 72% with bonuses. His endurance is not bad with 86. His will is not bad too with 74. He has a terrible agility, one of the worst ones in the game. An okay intelligence because he can also debuff. So Strumiknen is one of the best Platinum units to ever appear in the game, but more into that later. His first passive is called Block Tension. Attack damage increases by 15%. And also when he's attacked, he will decrease damage by 25%. This is actually pretty nice, and he already has good enough values for endurance and will. He will not take too much damage. The second passive is called Hot Blooded, and when he is attacked, but any type of attack does not need to be direct, it can be indirect, he will increase 3 status, STR, endurance, and will by 20%. So, if the enemy has plenty of weak AoE attacks, Strumiknen will just keep buffing his STR, endurance, and will to survive better and do more damage. And he already decreases damage by block tension. So, offensive and defensive character. Then the last one is called High Roller. He increases damage by 15%. In single target attacks, will increase further by 10. So what we have is a 40% increase in damage for single target attacks. All of his attacks are single target. A buff when he gets attacked, and a decrease in damage of 25. Yeah, we are looking at a character that has something similar to premium units. For skills, we have the first one being Vertical Smash Plus. This is an amplifier over an old skill. This one has critical damage against insects, has S power and 40 modifier. That's pretty nice for 6 BP. And there is a chance to buff endurance. Well, his intelligence is not that high. He just old units, old bosses, but not the newest ones. But if it lands, it's okay. It's extra damage to the party. Extra physical. Then the second one is called Bloodthirsty Strike. This is amazing because it's triple S damage for only 8 BP. There is a catch. It has delay. But having delay with a character that does not have agility barely affects. You just won't be able to get many combos out of him because delay kind of affects a lot. If you other characters attack before the boss attacks, delay means that 0 chances of a combo, unless you are using this on Overdrive. On Overdrive, this would be very nice. And in Global, we have a different effect that was buffed. He now recovers his HP by medium effect. Medium should be around 800 without you buffing Love or Charisma. So with 8 BP you do damage, recover because maybe you got too much damage when trying to buff his Hot Blooded passive. So yeah, he's doing damage, recovering, and buffing himself. Very nice. You can use this 2 times on 3-turn cycle, and well, 2 normal attacks and Bloodthirsty Strike usually on boss fights. Then the last attack is called Morning Glory. For 15 BP, we have a 4S attack. Yes, 4S 86. The only other character that has a 4S attack is actually Genryu. Genryu has this as well with his newest style. and this one is also 15 BP coast, but has heat and cold. Now this guy has a very powerful attack, but there's a problem. 15 BP is too much. You can only use this on turn 3. He doesn't have power charge or any other way to buff his BP. But the damage will be very nice, and if you are farming on normal story stages, they have 3 waves, he can still use Morning Glory to kill the boss, right? There's also a chance to debuff intelligence by small effect, so 15% only, just like Vertical Smash. His intelligence, like I said, is not so high, and depending on the boss fight, if you have a dedicated intelligence buffer, this may just be bad and trigger Defy weakness. So maybe you are safe just using Bloodthirsty Strike, since this allows him to survive better. This is really his best attack, since it heals. So in the end, we have a character with 40% damage passives, a buff when attacked, decreases damage, can self-heal, can sometimes debuff either endurance or intelligence if you want to wait. A lot of value for a character. I think that he's gonna receive a low SS grade by having so many effects. He can actually be used in hard content if you have some ideas. Also works super fine when you are bringing Mariah or Golden Ball, or even Halloween Princess White Rose if you are missing out or just want to have fun with a character called Strumiknen. Okay, so I guess that's it, guys. Let's return to the banner image. I guess this banner does have 2 very good styles. Yes, if we had a banner like this with at least 3 or 4 limited styles, I will pull, surely. But we only have 2 limited styles here, and summoning Ultra Deluxe banners have to be something well thought. We are pretty close to anniversary, and there is an announcement on 1 of June. We are pretty close to that. That will probably announce the new banners. It has a chance of being Global Access or double banners from SaGa Frontier 1 and 2. And if you are a fan of that, you can wait. There are 4 limited styles on each of those double banners. If there is a Global X banner as well, it may offer something good, since most of the Global X banners do offer something that's either meta or offers a lot of volley while doing damage and other stuff. Sadly, because the 2 platinum styles are here, this will receive a bronze award. It's not a silver award. Got close since I like the 2 premium styles, but they are not meta. They offer a lot of things that can also be used and done with different styles. So if you are missing out on the things I said and you don't mind purchasing or spending the gems that you have, you get 2 good styles. But if you don't have many gems, you are a new player, you can just wait to see what happens. I suggest you to wait even if you are thinking about these characters, because the banner lasts 14 days, right? But that's my opinion. What is yours? Please say here in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. If you want to support the channel, there are links on the description of the video. I also have a Discord server where we talk about the UniverSe and other games. I hope to see you soon in the next video. Bye.